So I've been a huge fan of the Nintendo Switch console since it first released back in 2017. In fact, I pre-ordered that console and got it in right when it first came out. And since then, I've actually had, I think, 3 different Switch consoles just because the more that I play them, the more that I like them, and the more that I want to have them in every single room. It's kind of a problem. And so, of course, when a brand new Switch console came out, I had to grab it. What's up, everybody? I'm Seth Fowler, and today I'm unboxing the brand new Nintendo Switch OLED. So the Nintendo Switch OLED just released today, October 8th, 2021, for a retail price of $349.99, which is essentially just $50 more than a standard Nintendo Switch. And for whatever reason, I couldn't pre-order one of these online. I guess I just missed out on all the pre-orders, and so because of that, I had to wait in line at Best Buy this morning, and unfortunately, I didn't grab the color that I wanted, but hey, you know what? It's still a brand new Nintendo Switch OLED. So at least I got one. So this new Nintendo Switch console comes in 2 different color variants. You've got a white and black version, which is kind of the new OLED color, and then you've also got this more standard blue and red neon version. And I don't know if this is true for every retailer, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is. But Best Buy only had 5 of these consoles available this morning at launch. They had 2 white ones and 3 of these neon colored ones, and of course I was third in line, so I got the neon colored one. But with everything going on in the world, it makes sense that Nintendo wasn't able to produce as many of these as I'm sure they wanted to, knowing that this would probably be a success, and because of that, it's actually pretty difficult to get one of these right now. But like I said, I do have a standard Nintendo Switch. I was kind of kidding about having one in every room. I actually gave some to some family members, but this is my sort of go-to console when I'm laying in bed, when I'm sitting on the couch, and sometimes when I feel like playing Mario Kart with my family. And for the last like 3 or 4 years, it's been fine. This is the improved battery life version, so it's definitely better for traveling for me than the old one was. But when Nintendo announced that they were releasing a new version with a larger screen, better kickstand, and probably better battery life, I had to grab it. But unfortunately, this console is not any more powerful than a standard Nintendo Switch. So because of that, this might become my always docked Nintendo Switch, and this will be my handheld one because the screen's just better. So now that you sort of understand my use case, let's dive into unboxing the brand new Nintendo Switch OLED. Oh, and also, if you guys want to grab one of these on Amazon, maybe they'll have a random restock when you click the link, but I've made sure to leave an affiliate link to Amazon in the description below. But with that being said, let's take a quick look at the outside of the box of this sort of mid-cycle refresh on the Nintendo Switch. So overall, this box does seem smaller than the previous Nintendo Switch box. It's vertical versus horizontal, and it's a little bit thinner. Now obviously you've got a picture of the Nintendo Switch OLED on the front of the box. On the sides you've got the Nintendo Switch logo and the OLED logo. Same thing on the other side. And then on the back of the box you've got a couple different use cases for the Nintendo Switch OLED. Now the first thing they call out on the back of this box is tabletop mode, which apparently has been dramatically improved because they've replaced the kickstand, which never worked on the previous Switch, with an entire back panel that kind of folds out with a friction hinge and works significantly better. Apparently. You've got TV mode, which like I said, my old Switch will now be relegated to, and then of course you've got handheld mode, which shows you how this console is going to look when it's all plugged in and switched up and all sort of good stuff. So with all that being said, let's dive into this unboxing and see what it looks like in person, because I have yet to see one in person. So let me pop the bottom of this guy right here. Doesn't look like anything's actually taped, which is kind of nice. There we go. Showing you how to charge it, and then oh, okay. So the top of the box comes off. So here you go, this is the inside of the box. It's very similar to what we had with the original Nintendo Switch. So the first thing I'm gonna pull out are the Joy-Cons, which apparently are exactly the same as all of the previous Joy-Cons, at least to my knowledge. I actually already have this sort of neon set, so I guess it's nice to have a second set. They look exactly the same. Once again, I wish I had the white pair, which I know will get dirty a lot faster than these guys, but it just looked cooler because it was newer. And then of course you've got the console itself. Right here, very nice. Still a small Amazon Fire tablet size. But look at this. Wow, that screen is way bigger. Oh, the bezel on the front's gloss now. I don't know if I like that. Well, I've got to say, the screen does actually look more premium, just being turned off like this, which is kind of crazy. The old one kind of had a sort of plasticky look to it, even though it wasn't really plastic, I don't think. This new one looks a lot more like glass. I don't know if it is, but it looks more like glass. Now, on the back of the console, you've got the kickstand, which you've got to be really careful when you open it, because if you get your fingernail in there wrong, you're actually going to damage the speaker grill right there, which is ridiculous. I don't know why they did it like that, but unfortunately, that's actually a problem that I've seen happen to other YouTubers. So there's the friction hinge. Look at that. Ah, so much better. Okay, we'll get to this in a second. Let me put this off to the side. Let's pull out what else we got inside the box. So actually, hidden underneath where the console was, you've got the quick start guide. Always good to have. Then underneath that, you've got some cables. You got your HDMI cable. You've got your power brick, which looks unchanged from the previous power brick, which would make sense. And then you've got your sort of almost pro controller where you slide in these Joy-Cons into and make it a sort of dog ear controller. And then also your Joy-Con attachments, which you can slide on when you're playing in TV mode. And now the band has little white accents instead of being just plain black, which I guess is nice. Nice little simple change there. And then the final thing inside the box, you've got the TV dock, or I guess just the dock. It apparently is relatively redesigned from the previous dock, and from just a purely like feel perspective or weight perspective, it does feel a little bit heavier. So this is the brand new Nintendo Switch dock. It's got much more rounded edges. Obviously the console still goes in the same way that the old console went in. You've got 2 USB ports on the side. You've got this new glossy accent around where the console goes in too. And then on the back, things do look a little bit different. You've got this new cutout here for wires and cables. Pop this thing down. Actually, this just pops right off, huh? Okay, interesting. Rather than being a hinge like last time, it's now just a piece that pops off. You've got your AC adapter, your HDMI out, and then you've got your LAN cable, which means you can actually plug in wired internet, which is great. It feels significantly more premium in hand, and the front, the glossy panel, which I didn't like at first, I think is actually metal. So it feels more sturdy, which is actually great. I really like that a lot. But let me power this guy on. Ooh, the power button's different too. The entire top of the console is different. Look at that. So the power button is now inset. It's now a, I guess a sort of a pill shape. You've got the volume rockers right there on the top. Nice. So I've got both Nintendo Switches set up, and right off the bat, the first thing you can see is that the screen on the OLED is significantly larger. Not only that, it's also a lot brighter. And actually just looking at the differences in color temperature, the OLED has a much bluer look, and the standard non-OLED version has a much more yellower, warmer look. And I've always sort of preferred the bluer look. I don't know what it is, because it's not easier on my eyes, I just think it looks better and crisper, even though that's probably not the case. But when you add the color temperature with the brighter display and the larger display, I think it looks like a much more modern console, and in my opinion, this is what the console should have been from the start. In addition to the newer displays, like I mentioned before, you also have the new kickstand. On the old console, the kickstand, I can barely get it to stand up now, but barely worked. I mean, it was just on one side of the console, it popped out very easily, and you really had to very gingerly put it down. Not only that, it only had one angle that you could set it at. This was it. This is the only angle that you have. Which is kind of useless. But with the new Nintendo Switch, you actually have this friction hinge, which allows you to adjust the angle to pretty much whatever you want, which I think is incredible. Not only that, it's also a lot more stable. Like, it's not gonna fall over if I touch it. It might kind of lean a little bit farther back, but this one, I mean, that's what happens. There's also a few other minor cosmetic changes on the outside of the console, like I mentioned before. You've got the buttons on the top. I think I just took a screenshot. Yep, I did. You've got the button layout on the top. It's a little bit different than on the old console. Also, the vent system is a little bit better than on the old console, because in the old console, this area would tend to break after a lot of use. Also, the speaker grill has moved from the front of this console to a little bit lower on the front of the newer console, and also on the bottom of the back. But honestly, other than that, in terms of visual changes, the consoles are pretty similar. The only other thing that I didn't mention is that the new Switch OLEDs have 64 gigabytes of internal storage, whereas the older consoles only have 32 gigabytes. Now, to be fair, both of those internal storage sizes are small, and you're going to need more than that, especially if you want to play a lot of different games, so you will probably have to get a micro SD card, but it's nice to have a little bit more storage on the newer console, and you'd hope to have more because you're paying $50 more. So while I haven't played the Switch OLED yet, and I can't give you guys a full review of the console, I do feel comfortable giving you some sort of buying recommendations. So my thought is, if you already have the original Nintendo Switch, and you're happy with it, and you don't need a new one because your old one is working just fine, stick with the old one. However, if you're like me, and you want to be an early adopter and have the newest thing all the time, fine. Spend the extra, well, I guess it's actually going to be an extra $350 because you didn't really need to spend the money, but spend the money, get the new console, you probably won't regret it. And of course, if you don't yet have a Nintendo Switch, I feel like the OLED is really the only way to go. Spend the extra $50, get the better screen, get the newer console overall, and get the better kickstand, because if you ever decide to use the kickstand, you're going to want to have the newer one, because this old one is garbage. I mean, it's staying up now for some reason, but it wasn't earlier. But that pretty much wraps up the unboxing of the brand new Nintendo Switch OLED. Now, I would love to know your thoughts on this console and whether it's a console that you'll be upgrading to or maybe getting for the first time, so make sure to let me know in the comment section down below. Also, if you do want to grab this console, I've left affiliate links to Amazon in the description below. To be fair, it is sold out right now, but you never know when it's going to restock, so make sure to click that link. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't yet, and I'll see you all in the next one.